everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Split, the young adult book review podcast for readers and writers. I'm Bryan Cohen, the author of the Ted Saves the World series. That is Robert Scanlon, the author of the Dreamer Chronicles. Is he trying to give 4 right there? I think he's trying to give us...
There's something about my hands. They're supposed to light up.
Oh, I see what he's doing. He's touching his hands, but his hands don't light up. But you know, in the book I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore, which we're talking about today, there is a character who has light up hands.
No. What a coincidence.
And he goes by John Smith. And there's reasons for this. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it all right here on The Split today. Robert, you're looking particularly sunny and happy in Australia.
Well, you know how in Australia we call this autumn. So I believe you call that fall.
Yes, that's true.
I never understood. Presumably it's something to do with leaves falling.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's so
that's what it is
in North America. Well, autumn. Who named that? Anyway, we're in autumn officially. But of course, we're still getting, and I'm really sorry for the North Americans because I'm not a good translator into Fahrenheit, even though I was brought up with Fahrenheit. But we're still getting, between 26 and 29 to 30 degree days. It's glorious sunshine, as those who are watching this on YouTube would see from the view out my window.
And those listening will be able to feel the sun.
Oh, you can feel the warmth coming through right now. And look, I invite every listener. Or, look, both of you can both come to Australia.
Oh, wow, that's so generous of you to invite my parents to Australia. Thank you for that, Robert.
Now, tell me about this book. I Am Number 4. Is this set in Chicago?
This is not set in Chicago, but it is set in the Midwest.
Ah, there you go.
It's set in Ohio.
I know.
Which is right between Illinois, where I live now, and Pennsylvania, where I used to live.
Uh-huh. So some familiarity for you then. Yeah,
some familiarity, but small town. We got another small town working in here. Let's do the usual. Summarize, reader, writer perspective, takeaways, and then a prompt.
And then we'll throw in the controversy somewhere in there.
Yes, somewhere.
So listen on, people.
Be ready. 9 Lorians came to Earth a decade ago, and while they look like humans, they're faster and stronger than any person alive. 15-year-old John Smith, a.k.a. Number 4, has been protected from the murderous Mogadorians due to a charm that prevents the Lorians' enemy from harming them out of order. When numbers 1 through 3 fall, Number 4 becomes vulnerable. He's next, but he's not going down without a fight. So, I gotta say, the climax of this book is probably the best one of any that we've read so far. Tons of action. I'm surprised that the movie bombed so badly.
Oh, man, the movie...
Because the final scene was like destined to be filmed, and they must have botched it. I know the girl from Glee was probably number 6 in it or something. It seems like they really missed an opportunity for a good series there, because this was great, and it seems like there's great stuff to come in the other books. So I very much enjoyed it. What do you think, Robert?
Oh, they so messed that movie up. Please don't get me on that. I mean, I was given this book as a birthday present a few years ago by my sister. Thank you, Alison.
Yeah.
And loved it. Really, I mean, and like you say, I reread it. In fact, what I was going to do, Bryan, to be honest, is I was going to just skim it quickly on the Kindle. And so I started skimming quickly on the Kindle, and then I'm swiping the pages, and then I stopped because there was action, and I'm swiping, and I stopped. And I just had to read it. And it's... Look, I don't understand. Some of the reviews are kind of say, oh, it's slow or it's really badly written. And look, there's some controversy about that, but we'll come to that in the writer's section. And I just, okay, but every book's got its flaw. But this has got some decent action in it. And like you say, the climactic action takes place over several chapters. It's really worthy. You don't know what's going to happen. There's a great sense of just stuff going on everywhere. That these people are going to
Yeah.
die, and But having said that, apart the violence aside, it's a clean book. There's some kissing and romance
Yes.
again. Another clean book, so good to have a clean read. I'm sad that it didn't make a good movie because, as you say, it should have made a good movie.
It should have made a good movie.
There's actually a lot more depth to the book than there is in the movie. They cut a lot of stuff out in the movie, and And when you think of the people who bought it, should have been able to do something better with that. So, stuff happens, huh?
Stuff happens, exactly. So moving on, I really liked the alien mythology in this book. I mean, Henri is an awesome character. I couldn't wait to find out more about the Lorians and the Mogadorians, and I would definitely read more books in this series because you can tell they're really only skimming the surface and there's a lot more to come.
Yes, and there's a bit of a hint there as well. It's worth reading on. I actually think there are a couple in the series that are better books even than this one.
Nice.
I think it gets around a 4.2 average, I think, which is, not bad for
not bad.
A book that's had a major motion picture attached to it, which they sold pretty quickly after the book came out as well. So, look, I think we do. The good thing is that you start right in the action and the mystery. So, although there is, as you say, the alien mythology and a big backstory here about why these two different planets have focused on Earth. You've got the Lorians who are fleeing and need somewhere to go because their planet is under attack from the Mogadorians. Mogadorians. God.
Yeah.
You call them Mogadorians. I called them, in my head, I had Mogadorians. Can't remember what they say in the movie. But I really like John Smith. I think he is, or number 4, I should say. He's a really believable character. He makes decisions that aren't always the smartest, like a young boy would.
Yes.
He's kind of desperate to get his powers, but then they come on in very embarrassing places and times. There are some neat little things in there about the powers and the way they work, and there's the mysterious chest. There are lots of devices, but they're quite well done. They don't feel like they're...
I agree.
They don't feel like they're just inserted because some editor said they should be. So in that respect, I think Pittacus Law, quote unquote, pen name, did a really good job. And the only thing I would say is that there are occasions where Henri, or Henry, that's not his real name either, by the way. John Smith is not his real name. Spoiler alert, has some really, really bad lines. And then there are other occasions where his lines are brilliant. So there's the book has some inconsistencies.
Great performance on Henri. So I didn't pick up any of the bad lines because he just had a great Frenchy accent or European accent, and it's really good. So I missed that.
But Jean, when your hands light up like that, you have to be very careful at school,
It might be more European than French.
Oh, okay, right. Well, in the book they do say
they mention
mistake him for being French. So
yeah, you should definitely. There's a lot of audiobooks I need you to listen to like 5 minutes of, so that you hear what I've heard.
I just can't dedicate that much time to read quote unquote a whole book on audio. I just read so fast textually that.
Yeah.
I get them done.
See, if I had time to sit down, because I'm always on the move, I'm always on the train, I'm always moving, like I have to get off at a stop 3 stops down and walk. And so reading by text doesn't make sense for me. But
audio is contiguous.
Audio is contiguous, exactly. Last reader perspective point, Sarah. Sarah loved John Smith so easily and quickly that it made me wonder if she was evil. I guess she was just boring and meant to love him, but I don't know. It was very high school boy fantasy, if that was the case. And I'm kind of hoping she turns out to be evil, because otherwise it's just kind of a womp womp. She loves him from the day he gets to school because plot device.
Yes, that's right. There is a little bit of that in this book. There's some really obvious tropes. One of them is really fun in the fact that John is a kind of typical young alpha male, and he just wants to beat up the bully, but he's not really allowed to. But then finally he does, and it's cool. So there are some really cool things. Like if you're a nerdy young boy and you're reading this, all of a sudden you think, oh yeah, maybe I'll get superpowers, maybe I'll get hands that light up, maybe I'll be able to throw people across a forest, maybe I'll be able to smack that bully down, and maybe as soon as I turn up at school, the really hot girl in school that everyone wants to be with will just instantly fall in love with me. So I think it's kind of written for that.
Yep, I agree with that,
but fun nonetheless, and I really like it. Is an entertaining read. It's not like Matched last week, where you'll question the society you'll live in. This is not
There's nothing like that.
That's not. It's an alien romp.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Which kind of brings us to a writer's perspective, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I think it's actually a collaboration, and I won't talk about it right now, but I think the writer who actually wrote it deserves full credit for writing a really good action-packed, young adult, great alien thriller, I suppose you could call it. And it's a book it's a pretty decent page turner for me. What did you think?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm interested in more of the controversy. I know nothing about it.
Ooh, right. Well,
I know that, I looked it up, and I know that it was collaborative, and it was part of a transmedia company that put it together, sort of thing, but I know nothing else. Give me the 1-minute summary.
Okay, do you remember a book called 1 Million Pieces, I think, or Into a Million
Pieces? No, I know it was that guy who was involved. Right, yeah, the 1 Million Pieces guy.
So he wrote this memoir that turned out to be a complete sham, and was disowned by Oprah and dropped by his publisher and agent, etc., etc. Well, he's the guy behind the whole Lorien Legacies. And he employed a writer, an MFA grad, who came to him with the idea for the Lorien Legacies series, and basically they wrote it under the pen name Pittacus Law, and the controversy is about the contracts and the huge amount of control. So basically, Joby Hughes, who wrote the book, has no copyright over it. It's all owned by his name James Frey. I think his name is James Frey.
Yes.
And so just go and Google James Frey, famous something or other, whatever it is. James Frey, Full Fathom 5. There you go. If you Google that, you'll get the whole backstory. So we don't need to go on it. This is a book review show, not a show about the publishing business, but definitely one to if it were current news, it would make #1 on Silmar Book Show, for example, because it was when you start to set up a publishing business that says, I'm going to employ you, you'll get $250 for writing this story. You won't own the copyright. You'll never own the copyright. I control everything. You'll write the story according to the way I want it. And if it's my story that I've told you to write, you'll get 30% of anything we make. And if it's your story that you come to me with, I'll pay you the $250 when you finish it, and you might get 40%. And you're not allowed to talk to anybody about it, and you're not allowed to say who wrote the book. So that's the conditions under which the first 4 books were written, and I believe they had a court action and a settlement. But put that to one side, because it comes through in some of the reviews. People talk about that, and to me, that's wrong. A story.
I don't think that. The story is the story.
I mean, just because Van Gogh was demented, does that make his art any worse? Because Picasso was maybe a womanizer, does that make his art terrible and misogynistic? I don't think so. I think you have to say I don't really often like talking about stories as art, because they're a different kind of consumption. They're media. But this is on one occasion, I think you have to take the media out. So the controversy is interesting from a writer's point of view, and it's worth throwing in there. And I would put it to one side. I'd go and read the first 4 books. They're fantastic. I started to get a wee bit lost in the last few, and I haven't read the very last one yet. There's also a whole load of novellas, so it's clearly a marketing campaign around it, as there has been with the Divergent series. Lots of novellas there about Ford's point of view. Funny that. Another one.
Yeah, funny,
4.
strange.
Funny, strange. Anyway, so let me get off my high horse. I think from a writer's perspective, the story is great. There's a conflict in every scene.
Yeah.
And if you want to do a scene take apart and watch how something is kept a page turner, then to me this was a really good example. I thought the overriding structure was also a really good example of the 3-act play, and the ending denouement was perfect. The story within I Am Number 4 is resolved, but it leaves it wide open for where we go from there. No spoilers. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Sarah was a kind of cardboard cutout. Mark, his enemy and bully, didn't retain that status for long, and that's a shame because I'd like to have seen that conflict. And the Mogadorians, we never engaged one apart from fighting with them, so I really don't know what they want.
Yeah.
In the movie, you do get a bit of that. I think they do speak in the movie, but yeah. So there are some definitely negatives. But as an overall kind of action entertainment, I think to me this rates along with Meta. It's another one of those, like it's superhero, Bryan,
Yeah.
What did you think? You're a superhero man.
I'm the superhero man. I think, two things. The action, that final scene, which lasts about 5 chapters. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy long. It's wild. If you have trouble writing believable action, read the last 10 chapters of this book and you'll be able to clear that right up. This is really a 7-book series worthy starter, Yes. There's so much to this world that we really want to learn what happened to 1, 2, and 3. Where are 5, 7, 8, and 9? Yes. Who are they? And will the Lorians be able to stop the Mogadorians? I feel like this had more intrigue than the 5th Wave when we think about another Alien book.
Oh, yes.
Because there are so many exciting unanswered questions left to come. But we still get so much satisfying action that we're not frustrated that we didn't learn more. There's just so much to learn that we learned as much as we needed to.
Yes.
So I liked it, had a great time. I didn't know if I loved it until the end, and then the end blew me away.
Yes.
So those are my writer's perspective thoughts.
Should we move into takeaways? I'll happily start if you like.
Sure, feel free to start.
They are famous. Our takeaways.
Yes.
I've kind of alluded to it, but I'd say, forget the movie, read the book. If you've seen the movie, please don't be put off. Go and read the book. And I actually read one reviewer who had said, I loved the movie so much, so I thought I'd go and get the book, and I got it on sale, and it's terrible. The writing's awful, and I couldn't stand it. So I could be wrong, because not everyone agrees with me. But
everyone has taste.
The movie was fairly well panned, I think. So and the book is, I think, really got a lot more richness to it. So, that's my first takeaway. Read the book.
All right. My takeaway is to let your action develop naturally. Don't feel the need to end it in a single scene. A real battle goes on for a long time. So it's more realistic if you let it continue on, and people get injured in varying degrees and locations change, the battle rages on. Consider that, especially when you're doing an action-packed book, and I would like to use more of that. I think that this book inspired me for some future Ted Saves the World kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, there you go. Look, work for Tolkien.
So that's my takeaway.
I agree, though, actually, because I think in my early parts of the first few drafts of my first book, I think what happened was that I tended to end action too quickly. And it was kind of resolved, and then they never talked about it again. And that's not what happens in real life. Things get unresolved, and you've got that whole, it should be, goal, conflict, disaster, new goal, conflict, disaster, new goal, conflict, disaster, and with a rest occasionally so that the poor reader can kind of get their head back on. And I think this is a perfect example of that. And so it makes it fun to read, but also a really great study for young adult writers. Third takeaway, I really liked the developing superpowers. You kind of alluded to this, that things unfolded. It wasn't like he was 15, about to turn 16, and boom, suddenly he's got superpowers. They kind of were a bit like Luke Skywalker in the Force. He had trouble. He had trouble kind of getting them. And then when they did happen, they happened at embarrassing moments. And then they weren't the only ones he had. He turns out to have others, and they came kind of accidentally, not accidentally, but just out of the blue, but weren't expecting them. And he doesn't know how to control them. And okay, so that might be part of the whole trope. But I thought it was really well done. So I quite like this the fact that he's an alien who happens to be a superhero on our planet because he has the alien powers.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed that part of it, and I think that it's smart because if you have these nerdy kids reading it, then nerdy young teenage boys reading it, that's the sort of stuff they're really going to enjoy.
Yeah, and look, even those who still have the nerdy young teenage boy inside. It's perfect.
Me too.
Yeah, we're pointing to ourselves here, people who are listening.
And there's training montages.
Oh, well, indeed, exactly.
So I like training montages.
That's right. Gotta have a montage.
Gotta have a montage. Let's talk about some prompt action. Prompt of the week. Your best friend has just told you that he or she is an alien.
Bryan.
How do you react? What do you do when your friend needs your help, and why do you do it?
I'd be there for them. Well, unless they'd already frazzled me.
Oh, of course.
By mistake.
I'm convinced at least several of my friends are aliens.
Really?
And I'll help them. I've already been helping them. So, it wouldn't be a change. Yeah.
We're going to blame climate change on Bryan now because he helped those aliens.
Oh, we should. So next week we're doing Cassandra Clare, right?
Yes.
City of Bones.
I'm looking forward to this. I've been wanting to read this for ages.
Yeah, me too. Another movie adaptation that did not do well.
Yes.
In the critics' eyes or the box office. Man, why do so many movie studios screw up these good books?
That is a very deep question.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that at some point. But hey, you guys listening should answer the prompt on the splitbookreviews.com in the comments section. You should leave us a review on iTunes because how else will people stumbling upon us know that we are pretty good? I think you should go do those two things right now. You should come back next week for City of Bones and you should just read this book and have some fun, action-packed, as you said, alien romp times. and I think you'll get a lot out of it, controversy or no controversy.
Indeed. And with that, I think we have to say you are Bryan Kane from Ted Saves the
World series. Yay!
And I am Robert Scanlon from the Dreamer Chronicles.
Woo!
And we will talk to you next week. And be very careful because some of your best friends could be baby-eating, shape-shifting lizard aliens.
Very true. So make sure to bring some babies. Thank you guys for watching. Somewhere on this page is a subscribe button to the Split channel. We do reviews every week. We would love it if you followed us every single week. Isn't that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Follow us now. Hit the subscribe button.
Do it.